Welcome to Atheist Open Mic, where atheists can ask questions, comment or discuss with Sacerdotus on air. Viewers send your questions or comments. And now here is your host and moderator, Sacerdotus.
Hello, welcome to Atheist Open Mic. We're back after a month of absence for, you guessed it, summer vacation, taking a little bit of a break. As many of you remember, probably the episode of Atheist Open Mic on June 17th, I believe, a month ago actually. We had Dean and alleged atheist soccer account, and Dean apparently decided not to continue on the broadcast because he felt that soccer count was pretty much acting immature, trolling whatnot. But I decided to give soccer count the benefit of the doubt and allowed him to continue on the broadcast. And I pretty much had a feeling that he was going to get a bit rowdy, a bit just to disrupt the whole broadcast. And so, but either way, I allowed him because I wanted him to make himself look foolish so that everyone can see why I do not believe that these people that go online calling themselves atheists are actually atheists. So I let him have his say and whatnot, and obviously he pretty much fell for my trap, if you will, and he got rowdy. He pretended to have knowledge that he does not possess, and he even tried to present ideas regarding quantum physics, which quantum physics does not actually posit in regards to causality and virtual particles. He claims that virtual particles are not caused, and obviously, there's actually no science that actually states that. What the science does state is that the phenomenon that we witness in virtual particles is the result of the interaction of quarks and other particles in space, time, and matter, which causes that reaction. That's pretty much what it is. Is this if is the phenomenon still mysterious? Yeah, absolutely. We're still learning more about it, but for the moment, we know enough about it to really make the conclusion that these particles are not just something mysterious. They're mysteriously happening in the universe and without a cause. Obviously, they do have a cause, and the cause is interrelated with the interaction of other particles and other things in space, time, and matter. And we see that in any substance in the universe. Water interacting with something else. Uh, just because it happens doesn't mean it doesn't have a cause. Obviously, the interaction of water with something else at the point where they interact, that's where the causality of a new event is taking place. And that's what this alleged atheist soccer account failed to grasp. And I tried my best to explain it to him, and he started to mute my microphone and speak over me, and he started getting very vulgar, cursing, and that's usually a sign when somebody's losing. When people raise their voice, trying to overshadow you, or they start insulting you, and whatnot. That's a sign, a clear sign that the person's position is weak, and it's becoming defensive. So that's what I meant in the beginning when I say that I allowed him to have his say because I wanted to show the world, all of those listening on the broadcast, how these people how these people interact, so that hopefully that serves as an example. And I obviously remained calm throughout it because I wanted people to witness how you deal with these kinds of individuals. And again, there's really no reason to get to the point that Sakakam got to, getting mad, insulting, and whatnot, unless your position is weak. Because obviously, you could always say, I agree to disagree, and it's end the story. Not everybody's going to agree with what you have to say. That doesn't mean you have to bash them over the head just because they do not agree with you. I mean, that's just wrong. So obviously, soccer count needs to work on those people skills and how to interact with others and how to respect other people's views and know your limit. Know where when you're wrong, when you are inaccurate, when your position is really not valid in light of any research or science or whatnot. And ironically, when I was trying to explain to him how virtual particles work and that these particles are not just something mysterious that have no cause in the universe, he um, he later on read something that actually was what I was telling him. Exactly nearly word for word what I was explaining to him or trying to explain to him because he kept on interrupting. So that goes to show how ignorant this person is and how ignorant many alleged atheists online are that they claim to possess knowledge which they do not possess. And that's the the Kruger-Dunning syndrome effect clearly visible there in people that behave this way, where they try to pretend to have knowledge or skills which they do not have. So, without further ado, I want to get into the broadcast. Unfortunately, I do not see any messages here of anybody wishing to participate. I was hoping somebody would join. Dean, have not heard wanted to participate or not, or other Catholics who have voiced interest in participating. Well, there will be future broadcasts where they could participate. This is not going to be the last episode. So I think for tonight or this morning, depending on your location, I am just going to address random things in the atheist, theist world and whatnot. And I think I will begin with the World Youth Day, which took place last month, the last week of July. And World Youth Day, for those of you who are not familiar with it, is an event that takes place every 2 to 3 years, to my knowledge. And this is sponsored by the Vatican, by the Pope, and also by the local diocese where the event is being held at. And this World Youth Day is meant to empower young Catholics, namely Catholics, but other people also participate, especially on the last day where the Mass is open to the public. And this event it begins with days of catechesis, which is like short talks or sermons where the youth participate and they listen to bishops that speak their language. So the English speakers go to English speaking bishops, the French, the Spanish to the Spanish, etc., etc. And they get to ask questions of their bishops or these bishops where they're participating and listen to what the bishop or a cardinal has to say. And there's other activities that go on for recreational purposes, like concerts and other events where the young people can go to just for diversion and whatnot. And the whole experience is pretty much a good experience. I participated in the one in Toronto, which was the last one of St. John Paul II. And it was very exhausting. We had to walk a lot. It was very hot. I suffered all kinds of degree burns on my face, arms, and whatnot. And not to mention the heat from wearing a Roman Catholic. But all that paled in comparison with the whole experience, and it's pretty tough. You have to really be fit spiritually and physically in order to partake into the World Youth Day. Because again, it's a lot of walking in the heat because this event is usually done in the summertime around July, and it takes a lot out of you. I mean, I when we got back to the hotel, I used to fall like a log, just from the exhaustion. But I got to make a lot of new friends and learn new things, and it was well worth it. And these events draw millions upon millions of young people. And every year is always the same experience in regards to who participates. And I have made a meme, pretty much making a connection between the World Youth Day and the recent rally that was held in May. And this comparison, this meme, pretty much show the difference between the recent rally and the World Youth Day. And what I mean by that is the in regards to the population. Now, atheists love to claim that atheism is on the rise or whatnot. And whenever the Pew Study releases a research paper or statistics claiming that atheism is growing here, or that not necessarily that atheism is growing, but that theism is disappearing and whatnot, we quickly see atheists celebrating, claiming that the whole thing is true, that atheism is on the rise and Christianity is dying. Or in other words, they think that the data showing that churches are closing or Christianity is decreasing, that somehow means that atheism is on the rise. Now, anybody that knows statistics and math in general knows that that's not the case at all. What is really happening, and I have explained this many times, is that obviously there are churches closing, and this is not something that we had to deny. There are church buildings closing, whatnot, but we had to understand the reason. The reason, namely, is because, namely, the United States, when Europeans came and they brought Catholicism to the so-called New World, they built all kinds of parishes, many of them close to each other, and because of the need was there was an influx of immigrants coming, Irish, Italian, German, etc., coming to the nation. And since at that time not too many people spoke more than one language, many parishes called ethnic parishes were formed, where these parishes were namely set up to help cater to the people of a specific ethnicity. Like, for example, there's an Italian parish, an Irish parish, Polish parish, or whatnot. And these parishes worked for or helped or aided the people of that ethnicity. Now, what happened? As the decades passed, the people that participate in these parishes, they gain wealth, they prosper under the economy of the United States of America, and began to obviously move out. They moved out of the areas. And what happens? They moved out, so less people started participating in these parishes. But then a new group of people came, and obviously I'm referring to Latinos, Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, who are coming in now, and Mexicans, and they came into the parish. Now these groups are starting to move out of areas as well. So again, the parish suffers another loss of people coming in. And also these people are not as wealthy as the people from previous generations because again, because of inflation, the value of the dollar changes from 100 years ago to now. It's not the same thing. I mean, I read recently that when the old Yankee Stadium opened, The tickets were 10 cents. I mean, just try to think about that for a moment. Going to see a Yankee game for 10 cents, as opposed to today where the bleachers cost, I think, $14, and the grandstand, the upper level, costs about $27, $29, depending on whether it's closer to the home plate or not. And I'm not even gonna go to the prices of the seats below. I mean, they're out of control. 2,500 just to sit in the front with the cushion seats. 2,500. And this is not just for the year. This is just for one game. So for 3 hours, win or lose, you pay $2,500 for a seat. I mean, it's just ridiculous. As opposed to 80 plus years ago in the old stadium, or the one that Beirut built, so to speak, it cost 10 cents or 23 cents or whatnot to enter into the stadium to watch a ball game. So try to put that into perspective. So, anyhow, the parishes are suffering now because we have people who obviously are not wealthy and they're not able to really donate or participate in the tithing program of the parish. So the parish suffers and it's not able to maintain itself and whatnot. And these people start moving out eventually to other areas looking for wealth because the area is now prosperous for them. So the building remains behind, the parish building. So what does the bishop have to do? The bishop has to decide whether or not to close it. And most likely he will close it because you have a building that nobody's really using and there's not enough money to maintain. So you have to shut it down. So this is what we're seeing. And we're also seeing what's called indifferentism, which is people that claim that they just believe in God, that all I need to do is believe in God, that I do not need to be in a systematic religion or organized religion in order to have a relationship with God, that I could just pray at home and whatnot. That's what's called indifferentism. So we're seeing a lot of that going on, especially among Catholics, even among Protestants, where people feel that they do not need to participate in a parish or attend Mass or a Protestant service in order to fulfill some kind of obligation to God. They feel they could do it wherever they are at home, in the workplace, in a park, wherever. So that's pretty much the attitude that's going on, that's been going on since the 60s, um, with all the changes going on in the world. So this is what we're seeing, a rise in this indifferentism, people that are not participating in the church. They may be Catholic by name. And interestingly enough, these people many times go to Mass only on Ash Wednesday or Palm Sunday, which many priests give them the nickname A&P Catholics, Ash Wednesday, Palm Sunday Catholics, because they only participate during those 2 days. Now, that doesn't mean that these people are atheists, because, like I just said, they feel that they can have a relationship with God in their own way, on their own terms, not relying on any organized religion or institution. So that does not make them atheists at all. So again, many atheists read these Pew studies and they quickly jump to conclusion that atheism is on the rise and blah blah blah. And obviously that's not the case at all. In fact, what the Pew study does state from 2014 is that atheism is on the decline and will disappear by 2050, 2050. Atheism or atheists will pretty much be non-existent. It will be less than 100,000 or so in the world. And the religion that is seen as taking over will be Islam. And obviously, the reason for that is because uh, it, the Islam faith is very strict on participation and so forth. There's also that cultural tie with the religion, and also they have children, whereas the Western religions are many of them have adopted contraception and all those things, abortion, and are not having as much children as before. So this is what is going on now in the situation in the world. Not that atheism is on the rise or that's not what's going on at all. So I made a meme showing this, and I'm trying to get Google to present it here so that you can see what I'm talking about. Hopefully, I could get this thing to work so that it's easier for everybody to see exactly what I'm referring to. I'm going to try to save the image here and put it on the screen if I can. Hopefully, you can see what I'm saying. This is the meme that I made, and on the left side shows the World Youth Day, Poland 2016, and on the right side, the recent rally in Washington, D.C. in 2016. And you can see the comparison right there. The World Youth Day in Poland has a participation of 3 million, over 3 million young people came. Now, think about that for a moment. We had 3 million youth, all different ages, coming to see Pope Francis, a man in his 70s. Not even these artists, what are their names? Lady Gaga, Rihanna, Drake, Eminem, Jay Z, Jennifer Lopez, Miley Cyrus. Um, who else is out there? Anyway, you pretty much know more, probably more than I do. These actors or singers, whatever they call themselves. Obviously, they do sell out concerts or whatnot, but these people do not gather millions of people. They do not at all. I think the only one that was able to do that was Michael Jackson, I believe, and even he cannot compare to the numbers that World Youth Day gathers with a pope. And that speaks a lot to the power of religion, the power of Catholicism. And then when you see the recent rally, which was an atheist sponsored event, which began in 2012. The 2012 one was not that populous as well. A few thousand showed up there. And I figured that because of that failure then, they weren't going to have it again, but they actually did. They planned it for 2016 and they had it. And that one was even a bigger failure than the one in 2012. And you can see in the picture, hopefully you can see what I'm seeing. This is the recent rally in Washington, D.C. in the mall. And you see just a few people as opposed to where you think in Poland with 3 million people. And just a little jest here, I put uh, Hemant Mehta, who is so-called friendly atheist, a little cartoon comic bubbles saying I thought atheism was on the rise, just to make a little bit of fun of these people who claim that atheism is on the rise and whatnot, who obviously are not paying attention to reality. As you can see between the two images I presented in this meme, where you stay with over 3 million people and the recent rally with just a few thousand. And you look at that and you start to question, is atheism really on the rise? Because if atheism was really on the rise, then the images will have been inverted. We will see 3, 2, 4, 5 million atheists gathering at the Washington Mall in DC and for the recent rally. But we do not see that. We see fewer and fewer people. And again, this is the second time the recent rally was held. And it was a big failure. A big failure. less people participated than in the first one. Now, the funny atheist who you see there in the corner down there, he wrote a blog on Pathos, giving all kinds of excuses as to why the rally was not such a big hit or not. And one of the excuses he makes is that the rally didn't pay too much attention to social issues like same-sex marriage or whatnot. And in the previous broadcast, I questioned this. What does that have to do with atheism? What does same-sex marriage have to do with atheism? Is this rally about atheism or is it about pushing social liberal ideas? Then the rally is a political thing, not a recent rally. It's a political rally. So I really don't understand where the so-called funny atheist is coming from here. Then another funny thing that he says is that the event was held in the summer where people go away on vacation and there's graduations going on. He made all kinds of excuses claiming that the recent rally failed because it was in the summertime. Well, there's two problems with that. The first problem is May is not summer, May is spring. So obviously he needs to learn how the equinox and all of that works. And because May is not summer, May is in the spring. Summer starts later on in June, around 20 something. So he obviously is ignorant in science in that regard. And the second thing is that in the summer, people have more freedom to do more things. People go to the parks, people go to games, people go on vacation because it's summer. So any atheist out there who's really dedicated to atheism would love for the recent rally to be held in the summer because he or she may be free to participate in it, as opposed to it taking place in winter or fall when people are in work and school, especially college kids are in school and they're not able to take a day off from their courses to go participate in Washington D.C. Even though ironically, the March for Life does pretty good despite taking place in January. But then again, many schools are off during that time, during that week on January 22nd. So the so-called friendly atheist really doesn't know what he's talking about. And those people who claim to be atheists online, who claim that atheism is on the rise, clearly do not know what they are talking about. Because we see the evidence right here, like the cliche saying goes, "Picture's worth a thousand words," and we see that here. That's why I decided to make this meme and promote it, and other people are sharing it around social media, so that people could see with their eyes the word youth from quote unquote religion is dying, alongside the recent rally where supposedly atheism is on the rise. You see that the theory that atheism is on the rise doesn't correlate with actual reality, as you can see in the photographs, because logic dictates that if religion is dying, particularly Catholicism, then there will be less people in the world youth day. Actually, there will be more people each year. It keeps growing. And if atheism was really on the rise, then the recent rally would have been much more successful. Would have seen millions of people, at least 100,000 people. They didn't even get to that close. Other marches, the Million Man March, gets millions of people. And other protest events and whatnot that take place in the Washington Mall, they gather hundreds of thousands of people. But why isn't the recent rally successful? It's not because it was scheduled for a certain time during the year or because it didn't focus on social issues. I mean, it's just nonsense. It's just making up excuses to justify failure in the for the recent rally. So my take on this is that atheism is clearly not on the rise; it's failing, and I mean I'm not gonna go into why, but I said it many times. Atheism really doesn't have anything to offer anybody. It just denies things. It just makes claims, it denies things, it makes statements that does not support, and is irrational. And I speak to this in my book. For those of you who have read it, um, I criticize atheism heavily. I explain why I left it behind. It doesn't offer anything. It doesn't. It just makes blanket statements, and just leaves it at that, and it expects you to understand the statement and to accept it as fact. Like for example, on Twitter the last couple of days, two or three people have been messaging me saying that God is a myth and that religion causes fear and that God doesn't exist, and that atheism means that you say God exists and I say I don't believe you, and that's it. They leave it at that. And then when I ask them to elaborate, to show me the proof how they came to the conclusion that God is a myth, or that the phrase "I do not believe you" is valid. How did you come to that conclusion? How did you get to that point to say that? Or that religion causes fear? They cannot do it. They don't give me any answers. They start telling me, "Oh, well, the burden of proof is on you." I mean, seriously? Come on. Obviously, if I tell you, suppose we were having a political discussion, and I tell you, I'm not going to vote for Trump. Are you just going to stay quiet and accept it? Most likely, you're going to say, why not? You're going to ask me, why not? Especially if you are a Trump supporter. So, again, if I say to you, and you're a Trump supporter, if I say to you, I'm not going to vote for Trump, most likely, I estimate 99% of the time, you most likely will ask, why not? Why are you not going to vote for Trump? Because you want to know why I'm not going to vote for Trump. Why? What's the reasoning behind it? You want an answer. You want an explanation. So the same thing with atheism. If you're going to say that God is a myth, that you do not believe because you don't want to believe, you tell me that God exists and I don't believe you, and God and the person asks you why not, you're not going to give them an answer. I mean, how do you expect the person to take you seriously, to take your opinion, your valid, if you don't at least support it or defend it? So that's the big problem with atheism, is that it doesn't support any substance. It doesn't give any substance, rather. It doesn't support any of its ideas, any of its premises or platform. And again, these alleged atheists, and you can see the confusion among alleged atheists online. Some of them call it a lack of belief. Some of them call it a rejection of the gods. Some of them call it an affirmation that there is no God. I mean, there's a big mess there. And I blame Richard Dawkins, who in his book made up this whole crazy chart of different levels of atheism, which makes absolutely no sense. And it shows his ignorance of atheism. He does not understand what atheism is. You cannot take atheism and turn it into like a thermometer with degrees where it goes from one direction to another direction. That just does not make any sense at all. If you're an atheist, you're an atheist. You cannot mix it or conflate it with agnosticism or epistule, or even with a partial theism, which I have seen some people try to do, where they claim that they're atheists, but then they think that the universe might be God, or that evolution might be a God, an unconscious God. There's actually people out there that think this way. And again, this is because of Richard Dawkins. He causes confusion with people. And it's unfortunate indeed why these people are confused with atheism. and what atheism really is. It's sad that it has gotten to this point where they really do not understand what's going on. So we see that all over the online internet and whatnot. Not so much in the college level, not so much in the academic field. We do not see this. When a professor or somebody says that he or she's an atheist, he or she sticks to what the word actually means. That you reject God, you believe that God is not real. They stick to that traditional, actual definition. But online, it gets a bit crazy. We have all kinds of different people who believe atheism is different or different things, and it's unfortunate. And that's why yeah, my friend Dean was getting aggravated with soccer account because while we were on the broadcast, the thing got disconnected. The atheist open mic, the what do you call it, the Google Hangouts got disconnected, and I think it had to do something on my end, or computer. I'm using a new computer now, thanks to a donor who donated a brand new computer, which I want to thank him, her. I don't want to reveal the gender, so I'll just say him or her, for the gracious donation. This brand new computer on touchscreen, 24 inch screen, which allows me to see more things and whatnot, and it's much faster. And obviously, there's not going to be any more disconnections unless there's a power outage or something on Google's end. So again, thank you out there for the donation for that. So in the last broadcast, I was using my old computer and it got disconnected. The broadcast, and Dean and Soccer Count had a little discussion on the side using the Google Hangouts Messenger chatting thing. And I guess Dean got aggravated with Soccer Count, and I could see why because Soccer Count, the way he started behaving towards me, I could see why Dean got aggravated because this Soccer Count um, obviously something's wrong there. That he's if he gets so angry and upset over somebody disagree with him or trying to correct him, then obviously there's something there with maturity. There's a problem there with maturity, or maybe another underlying psychological illness that we may not be, which is his business and he has to deal with. But again, our job as Catholics, as Christians, is to bear with one another and just hang in there and not stoop to the level of other people. Somebody wants to curse you out, and I have been cursed out numerous times, both online and offline. You just have to smile and just let the person vent, because you don't know what's going on behind the person's life. So anyhow, atheism has a big problem, and I mentioned this in my book, and it's one of the main reasons why I left it behind because it doesn't offer any substance at all. And I want to take the time to look at some of these tweets, um, and then address them live here. I'm gonna click on notification, and these are messages that people send me, and I've been having a decent conversation with this person, Gary M. Gary M 9999 is his handle. So if you're an atheist, maybe you want to look for a friend, go check out Gary. Maybe you guys could become friends. So anyhow, we've been having a discussion back and forth and whatnot. I'm using the app here from Windows 10. I'm still learning how to use this, so bear with me if I do something wrong here. This is much different than the Vistas and or Vista and Windows 7 that I was working with. Period. Before, previously rather. So bear with me. I'm using this app of Twitter that Windows 10 provides, and we have been having a long discussion throughout the day. Let me see which ones are the ones I answered some of these already. I'm just gonna find the ones that are interesting. Um, oh, there's somebody here. Anybody out there listening? This person, Godwin K. Nekis Negasaya. The handle on Twitter is KAKRA 200. And this person messaged me a day ago saying to help pay for fees or not, and that they have documents to prove. I did not reply to this because I'm just seeing it right now. Um, if you're interested in helping this person, you could contact them. I really do not know why they're asking me for help because I'm the one asking others for help to help me. But I wish I could help this person. If I ever win the lottery, I could help people online. Um, but anybody out there, you want to find this tweet and just talk to this person to see if you could help them with whatever feast they're talking about. Um, it's the Christian thing to do. It's the human thing to do to help one another. Anyhow, let's start with Gary here, and this is a tweet he sent 14 hours ago. And he tweeted to me, mankind developed the God or God's concept them, to full or to fill themselves and to control each other. Now, again, that's an interesting claim, but he doesn't support it. He doesn't offer any evidence. And I try many times to, and let me see if all the tweets shows up. And you can see right here that I respond to him. I wrote bare assertion fallacy no proof. Try again. Your opinions are not facts, and he never replied. Um, and again, he responded to my God is a myth challenge, where um, I think I could play it here. I think I can. This is a video that I posted on YouTube. It says, actually, this is the middle of it. Let me play it from the beginning. I don't think you could hear the sound, but the Atheist Challenge. This is something that I made. Let me pause it here. This is atheists proudly proclaim that God is a myth. A myth, by definition, is a usually traditional story of ostensibly historical events that serves to unfold part of the world, view of people, or explain a practice, belief, or natural phenomenon. And so this is pretty much what Gary was alluding to, or that mankind created God to explain things and blah blah blah. So I cite the definition of a myth or what a myth is, and I got this from Merriam's Webster's dictionary. And I write, however, every story has an original storyteller or author. Example: The Cat in the Hat. The author is Dr. Seuss. Now, if God is indeed a myth, if all religions are recirculating a story, then who was the first to come up with the story? In other words, who was the first to develop the concept of God? So this is the challenge that I pose to atheists around, and I sent this to Richard Dawkins. I sent it to professors of mine who are still atheists. I sent it to Lawrence Krauss, to Sam Harris, I believe to Penn Jillette even, and other people out there who um, are renowned atheists or public or out atheists, so to speak. And none of them have responded. Nobody has. And I posted this on many social media groups on Facebook, Google Plus. I tweeted it hundreds, if not thousands of times. And not one atheist has challenged it, has answered the challenge. Not one. Now, some reply to it and make blanket statements like Gary does, but does not offer proof. Like Gary, they say, oh, God is a concept that man made. What man? Which man? They don't tell me. And I continue here. And this plays like the Jeopardy music, if I remember correctly. Let me let it play here. Hopefully, you can see what. Okay, and pause it over here. So the question remains: who developed the God concept that has fooled mankind for thousands of years? Got an answer, and visit my rationally faithful blog site, which is dormant now. The other one, the new one, is in WordPress. Nobody answers. Nothing at all. So how can anybody take um, this ideology seriously if you cannot support it? You cannot provide any evidence for it at all. It makes no sense. So this is the issue. One of the main issues that I had as a former atheist. Why people believe the way they do. And here I write, if you can answer this, then you have successfully disproved the existence of God. If not, then you and atheism are full of baloney. And that's pretty much the reality, the truth behind it. If you cannot prove that God is a myth, then you and your idea, your ideology, atheism, are full of baloney. It's as simple as that. So that's from my video, God is a Myth. It's on YouTube. The God is a Myth challenge. You could view it there. And these are other videos there from YouTube. These are mine over here. This is the one with soccer count. If you want to see it, it's June 17, 2016. This is the one where soccer count and me had a big exchange. And these were ask other videos that you could welcome to look at that. And this is another lady that I'll get to her in another episode, but she's comical and another one that really doesn't understand atheism and whatnot. So anyway, back to let me check my timer here. I have 39 minutes. Okay. So back to Gary over here. He says mankind developed a God's concept, blah, blah, blah. Again, he doesn't provide any evidence for that. My counter to this is that we are hardwired to believe in God. And scientists all acknowledge this, even atheist scientists like Pascal Boyer, who says the believing in God is a cognitive trait. And he even states that atheism is an outlier. It's not natural. To be an atheist is not natural. It's something that comes later on. A posteriori is not something that is a conception of before birth or at birth. It's not the default position. Scientists all agree on this. Anthropologists, evolutionary psychologists, cognitive psychologists, biologists, they all conclude that theism, the believing in God, is hardwired in all of us. So that's just a lot. When you think about it, it's just a lot. So in light of that, in light of the fact that we are hardwired to believe in God, then how can mankind develop something that's hardwired into them? That means that mankind has been genetically engineering each other since mankind appeared. I mean, do we really want to believe that? That our ancestors, the caveman, Neanderthals, Australopithecus, Homo erectus, all the other primates, they were genetically engineering each other and put the gene that allows us to think about God and the afterlife and all that. Really? Do we really want to believe that? I mean, sounds interesting, but I want to see the science behind that. I want to see your evidence for that. So if Gary's arguing this point, he will lose because science already is settled on the matter that mankind did not develop God. They did not develop all of this. What he's saying, we were already hardwired to believe in God. It's the other way around. Now the question is why. Now this is where the debate is at right now. The debate is not whether we are hardwired for God or not. The debate now is why we are hardwired for God. Is it because there is a God who made us to be hardwired so that our components are able to detect them, just like you need a satellite TV or a satellite dish to detect the signal from space? Is that what it is? Or Did this gene somehow develop in order to keep human beings focused on their short time on Earth so they take care of each other better? In other words, for survival. And it's possible, but really, that doesn't make sense. Why would you need to believe in something that does not exist so that you can survive on Earth in a place that does exist? Why would you need a gene that like that? Why would that even develop in evolution? Because remember again, evolution takes hold based on experience with the environment, nature. The giraffe, the neck became elongated because previous versions were trying to reach for the leaves in the tree. And these changes passed on generation to generation. And now we have these beautiful creatures with these long necks. So, and that's exactly how Darwin discovered evolution when he saw the finches on the Galapagos Islands and the different turtles. He realized that these creatures were existing in an environment that catered to them. But in reality, they evolved so they were able to work alongside with the environment. And those that did not evolve or evolved slowly became extinct. They weren't able to deal with the environment. And that is how evolution works because it's the interaction of the environment, the organism interacting with the environment and changing throughout time in order to adapt to the environment. And those that are not able to do so or are too slow to do so die out. That's how evolution works. So if evolution needs the natural environment, then that means that God is in the natural environment. So we developed the heart wiring gene for that. Because it doesn't make sense that we develop this gene, this trait, for something someone is not there. Doesn't make any sense. We have eyes because there's light. We have ears because there's sound. We have a stomach because there's nutrition out there. There's plants, other animals, meat, fish, fruit. Evolution allowed for this process of the formation of all these different organs because it was connecting, adapting to something outside of it in the environment. So you see how the argument fails when atheists claim, or these alleged atheists claim, that man developed gods or whatnot. Now it's true that God that rather man named God or created stories. That's true. I can't deny that. Like the Greeks mythology and the African mythology, and all cultures have different kinds of mythologies, different names for God, Zeus and etc. That's true, yeah. But then you have to understand why they were trying to define something they knew or felt existed. So they defined it, they named it the way they understood, the best they could. They named God Zeus, they named God Osiris, because that's what best matched their experience, their understanding of nature, and so forth. But the common denominators there is that they knew there was something beyond them. All they did was just apply their culture, their names, their understanding on this thing, this entity, whatever it is that they felt was out there. That's all they did. That doesn't mean they created a god. Now, let me go back here. Hopefully, I'll lose the other tweets. And he says again here in another tweet that multiplicity of religions and gods is the proof that the concept of religion is man made. Again, doesn't make sense at all in light of what I said about this one just a few minutes ago. Just because there's different religions and different names of gods does not mean that religion is man made. Now, granted, Religion as an institution, yes, is man-made, excluding Catholicism, of course, because Catholicism was founded by Jesus Christ, who is God and claimed to be God and proved that he was God. Otherwise, the religion would have collapsed centuries ago. Here we had this guy walking around, the son of a carpenter. I mean, who's gonna take that a person like that seriously? It's like who would you take seriously? Prince, what's his name? Prince William's son when he's older, or the son of a mechanic down the street in a rundown shop? Who would you take more seriously? Most likely, you would say the son of Prince William. Um, I forget the boy's name. It just escapes me. Anybody out there from England will remind me what the kid's name is. But most likely, you will say that you will listen to the kid because you see the royalty, the monarchy as something important, a status symbol or not. Well, 2,000 years ago, we had this man walking around, the son of a carpenter, not very well educated, going around saying, "Hey, I'm God. I am the Son of God. I am He. I'm the one you were waiting for. Uh, you destroyed the temple, and I will rebuild it in 3 days." And he's referring to himself. And I'm going to come back and I'm going to set the world on fire. And he's saying all these things. Now, the people followed him. Now, why did they follow him? Because he was the son of a carpenter? Definitely not. They followed him because he walked he walked the talk or talked the walk, or however it is that you say it. He said, "I'm the son of God, I'm God," and then multiplies bread and multiplies fish, walks on water, forgives people. That's the contrary of what the quote unquote religious leaders thought religion was supposed to be, or what God was supposed to be about, forgiving the prostitutes and whatnot, and the tax collectors, hanging out with the bad people, with the sinners. He walked the talk. He showed that he was what he was saying he was. If he didn't do that, then Christianity would have died out a long time ago. And if you read the history of the time, there were a lot of people during that period who claimed to be the Messiah. It's a lot of people, a lot of magicians and people that came, and we read about this in the Acts, I believe, the Acts of the Apostles, where Peter deals with a magician who claims he has all these powers, and Peter makes him look foolish because the one who has power is God. So if Jesus wasn't who he said he was, the whole thing would have collapsed. We wouldn't have a Vatican. We wouldn't have a papacy. We wouldn't have this huge religion, which unfortunately is now a big mess with Protestants and all these divisions, which again is not God's fault. It's not the church's fault. It's man's pride. But that's for another topic, another show. Okay, let me go back here. Gary says, the worshiping of bears or volcanoes or any natural events that humans at the time cannot explain as evidence. Again, it's not evidence. It's actually what I was saying before, that people define God, they name God based on their experience. So their experience with bears, with volcanoes, they attributed it to something higher than them, to God. But that doesn't mean that they created God. They were just trying to define what this whole thing is about to the best of their ability. So they saw a bear, something powerful that tears people apart. So they identify that with this super entity. They saw volcanoes that explode and cause all kinds of damage and even lightning. And they say, well, maybe that's the entity, the superior being. So that's what primitive man did. And then it says here, he wrote again, no, that argument shows that humans were and are anyway for unexplainable and insert explaining. That's partially true. We see that a lot with the syncretic religions, Santeria and Wicca and all that, where people try to attribute certain events to bad luck and bad mojo or whatnot, or spells or whatnot. That's partially correct, but in context of monotheism, it's not. It doesn't correlate. It doesn't connect, because obviously, human beings in Judaism and Christianity are not fearful of God. They await Him. The Jews awaited the Messiah. They weren't scared. Christians, we await the second coming of Christ. We every Advent we shout Maranatha, come Lord Jesus. We wait for the end of the world. We actually expect it. That's why you see all these interesting Protestant cults out there claiming that the world's going to end on this day and that day or not. Because in in a general sense, Christians await for the coming of Christ. We're not afraid of the end of the world. We pray for it every day in the Mass. Christ has died, Christ has risen, Christ will come again. We eat this bread until you come again. These are things that we say in the Mass every day before receiving communion. We await for the coming of Christ again. Not something that we are afraid of. And I switched the page here again by mistake. Um, and again here, can't figure out how the wind blows. It must be Yahweh. Again, I already addressed all these things. The lightning, Sue store. I already addressed these things. So it doesn't make any sense to you. He says we're all born atheists. Again, this is not true. And science, again, does not hold this position. Nobody's born atheist. Because remember, atheist is the rejection of God. It's the denying of the existence of God. So if you're denying the existence of God, then that means you're aware of God as the concept or a person. And then you decide that you don't want to believe it. You're not, you're rejecting. So in order for you to do that, you have to have knowledge of the concept of God or the person of God or the dogma, whatever you want to call it. You have to have knowledge of it. So if you have knowledge of it prior to it, then you cannot be born an atheist. Because how can you deny belief in something or someone that you never heard of or not aware of? Disbelief is a verb. When I say I disbelieve in something, it's an action. I'm taking a course of action. Something enter my cognitive process, and I say, I do not believe it. I cannot say I do not believe it before I know what I'm not believing in. That's impossible. How can I say I do not believe and then I don't know what I'm not believing in? In order for me to say I do not believe or I reject belief, I have to know what I'm rejecting. I have to know what I'm disbelieving in. So we're not, it's impossible for anybody to be born an atheist. It's impossible. And again, science has already established that we are hardwired for God. The real debate is why. That's the debate going on in science right now, namely in cognitive psychology and anthropology, and also philosophy too. Even though philosophy really doesn't deal with empirical science or empirical methods, but they still get into big arguments and debates over that. And again, he continues all these things. He keeps repeating himself. That's why I kept saying he's appealing to ignorance. And again, this is a big problem that so-called atheists have. That they make all these claims and they feel that they're right when in reality they're not right. And it's unfortunate that some of them take this course, this attitude that we saw that in the last episode of Atheist Open Mind with Sakakant, where he said that I was wrong on the virtual particles, where in fact what he was quoting later on to make his case actually was exactly what I was trying to tell him when he was trying to mute my mic. Well, not trying, he actually did mute my mic and whatnot. So let me continue here. Uh, and again, Gary here has trouble presenting evidence. He presented an article from The Guardian, which is an editorial. I mean, again, I told him that he's offering opinion, not fact, and he offers another opinion for somebody else. So we see that Gary really does not understand how debates work or how to argue your case using evidence, not anecdotes or your personal opinions or whatnot. And there's another one that he wrote here recently. Says 21 minutes ago, but it's actually longer because this was before I started the broadcast. Anyhow, he writes, "The burden of proof is on you. I say that religions are based on imagination, not a real thing." Again, he has not provided evidence for that. No atheist has. That's why atheism is not growing. That's why atheism is not as popular as religion, because it doesn't offer anything. It just makes these blanket statements. The burden of proof is on you. I say religions are based on imagination, not a real thing. And why? Prove it. Oh, the burden of proof is on you. I mean, that's how it gets when you start to debate or discuss with these people. It becomes this back and forth thing. I had to mute a couple of guys earlier because they were doing the same thing. I would ask them to explain their position, their statement, to elaborate, to supply evidence, and they respond, "The burden of proof is on you. I wasn't the one that made the claim. I wasn't the one that made the statement. I wasn't the one that said to myself, God is a myth. You told me that. You tweeted that to me. And I'm asking you to prove it. How is that my burden?" So again, we see these people online who claim to be atheists, who have no understanding of how debate works and whatnot. That's why I'm very skeptical of these people who go on Twitter, Google Plus, Facebook, whatnot, claiming that they're atheists and posting memes and whatnot. And when you get into a real discussion with them, they're clueless. And then they get defensive. They start cursing you out. They call you a moron. They call you an idiot and whatnot. So, I mean, that's a big problem in atheism, which atheists really need to work on. I mean, they really need to push the idea that atheism. Now here, he wrote, and why is P. Boyer, Pascal Boyer, still an atheist? And just for you guys to know who's Pascal Boyer, I'm gonna find his picture here because I tweeted it. And again, this is my book here. These are things that I tweeted. All right, this is from right here. Pascal Boyer. He's a scientist. And he wrote, this is a quote for him: "A slew of cognitive traits predisposes us to faith." End quote. And so Gary's asking me that why is Pascal Boyer still an atheist? And again, there's many reasons why people stay in atheism. They may have used atheism to make a name for themselves. So most likely we will not see Richard Dawkins or Sam Harris or Krauss, all these big name atheists, all of a sudden say, "I'm Catholic" or "I'm converting." Most likely we're not going to see that because they make money off of atheism. Atheism is their bottom line. So obviously they are not going to say publicly, "I left atheism," or "I'm going to convert to Islam or Catholicism or Episcopalian or whatever," because that will hurt their book sales. All those books that they wrote on atheism, I mean, people are just gonna stop buying them. It's gonna hurt their bottom line. The websites that they have, people are gonna stop visiting them. They're gonna lose followers on Twitter and Facebook and all that on their social media because other atheists are gonna say, forget him. He was a hypocrite. He was two-faced. He said he's a atheist, and now all of a sudden he's saying that God is real and he's converted. He got baptized, or whatever. Forget him. Block. Click. Block. That's what's gonna happen. So of course nobody's gonna, especially somebody who made a living or presented atheism as a stepping stone in their career, is gonna be quick to throw it away. For me, it was easy because I mean I'm not a public figure. I never was a public figure. Even though some people say I'm a public figure just because I do these things, but I don't consider myself a public figure. Um, Definitely not like a pope or a bishop or anybody else like that. But I'm just a regular citizen student who just came to the conclusion that atheism was stupid. That's why I wrote the book. Atheism is stupid, and I left it behind. So for me, it was easy to leave it behind. I wasn't gonna lose money. I wasn't gonna lose a career or anything. I lost a couple of friends, yes, but nothing to really cry foul over. I mean, it happens. You lose friends, you make 1,000 more friends. It just happens in life. So to me, that will be the answer I will give Gary as to why Pascal Boyer, who's pictured right here in front of you, um, is still an atheist. Is because he made his career as a scientist. He presents himself as that publicly. So it will really hurt his credibility if he just comes out of nowhere and says, "Oh, guess what? I'm not going to convert." Probably many of his colleagues will probably have an issue with it as well. So why not? Um, no, this is a bishop here who blocked me just because I criticized his view on immigration, illegal immigration. We I followed him. I think he followed me. I don't remember since 2009. I think since I started Twitter, and we never really exchanged. I will retweet some of his things and whatnot. And he made a comment saying something that came across as he was endorsing illegal immigration. And I said to him, that shame on you or something to the effect. Why would you say that? I mean, that's a bishop saying to break the law. I mean, that doesn't sound right. How can somebody in your position endorse the breaking of the law, which illegal immigration is? It's breaking the law. You're breaking a sovereign nation's law by coming into the nation illegally. How can you, a Catholic bishop, a representative of the church, of morals, of ethics, um, endorse that behavior? Shame on you. You shouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that if I was a bishop. Tell people to break the law, unless it was something, um, a law that was evil, like abortion or something like that, like the Obama mandate that Catholic schools and all these hospitals had to pay for abortion. Then yes, as a bishop, I would say, tell the government to go to hell. Of course, I would do that. But to for a social issue like illegal immigration, to say, yeah, break the law, come into the nation illegally, and not worry about the immigrants who come here and how many of them die getting here, not worrying about what happens while they're coming over here, not worrying about the children that get separated from their families, and not worrying about what happens when they come here, that they're on the street, they don't know what to do, nobody wants to hire them, they don't have money or food or anything. I mean, that's irresponsible for a bishop to say that. So anyway, I gave my opinion, and I guess he doesn't take good to criticism, and he blocked me. And I just found out yesterday morning because Pope Francis promoted him to this council of the laity, and that he started a brand new council of the family laity. So Pope Francis promoted him to lead that new committee, that new office. So I went to congratulate him, and I found out that he blocked me. So I mean, it is what it is, and unfortunately, it's a bad example of what a bishop is supposed to be. Bishop is supposed to be forgiving. Bishop is supposed to be open-minded and not be immature and block people just because they disagree with you or not. I mean, I wouldn't do that if I was a bishop or whatnot. And while I do block people, yes, I'm not gonna say that I do not block people. I block them because they get out of control. They start cursing, they start using vulgarity or whatnot. That's a whole different thing from sharing a different view than mine. Because obviously, you see Gary's on my timeline, my notifications. I did not block him. And the other guys that I told you about, I did not block them. I muted them because, again, they just became silly. They didn't curse at me or anything, so I had no need to block them. But they became um, childish or whatnot. So I just muted them just so that I wouldn't have to see all the nonsense and not see the other good tweets that I received that I could respond to and not waste time scrolling through all the nonsense. So hopefully this bishop goes to confession and learns some humility. Anyhow, I have here 10 minutes. So in these 10 minutes, I'm gonna check back here, see if I have any questions or anything. I have a couple of things here. Um, right here on the side, I'm sure you can see it right here. It says, "Why are you afraid to accept God?" I don't know what that means. Where this person's coming from. Um, I don't know what this person is referring to. Why are you afraid to accept God? I mean, I'm Catholic. Hello. I'm going to be a future priest. I mean, what else says accepting God than that? You cannot provide evidence to the contrary that you would lie and say you have some right. I'm not sure what this person is referring to. I'm assuming this person is referring to evidence for God. I mean, well, I mean, I recommend look through my site, www.sacerdotus.com, or get a copy of my book, Atheist, I'm Stupid. I provide a lot of evidence there for God, even though that's not the intention of the book. But since I'm critiquing atheism, that obviously um, I made a lot of arguments and a lot of cases for the existence of God, why it led me to believe in God. And right, so you don't know how to science evidence. Does it make sense? It's how you support through your own personal tests. Then you share the data with others so they can judge. You just mouthing off because you hate God, most likely because you're gay. Doesn't make sense at all. Unless the evidence to support your theory, you're the one who made the podcast. It's up to you to support your crappy science. So I'm not sure this person is an atheist or sounds more like one of those creationist fanatics who uh, does not believe in evolution despite the evidence that it exists or whatnot. So I mean, these questions are really not worth answering because obviously the person is confused and does not know um, why what he or she is talking about. But I would try to reach out to this person directly and then take it from there. But again, I believe this person is um, probably one of those creationist people that really don't understand how anything works, or science or religion. Um, it really does not make sense to deny evolution. I mean, if you deny evolution, there's something wrong with you. There's so much evidence for it. Denying evolution is like denying the sun heats the earth. Um, it's just too much evidence, overwhelming evidence that evolution is occurring. It's not a process that stops, it's still happening. So anybody out there that denies evolution, I mean, you're doing a disservice to religion, you're doing a disservice to God, because you making God look like either an idiot or like some magical being, like Pope Francis said a couple of months ago, or last year, I believe, if you deny evolution. Because again, there's so much evidence out there. And you cater to the idea that religion, the book of Genesis, and all of that is mythology. You're aiding in that belief. You're actually helping atheism. You're doing Satan's work. You're doing the work of the devil if you call yourself a Christian and you deny evolution. Because guess what? the devil, Satan, is the father of lies. So if you're denying truth, and truth comes from God, Jesus says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. Then you're denying God. You're denying the truth. Because if we see via empirical evidence that evolution happened and is happening, then it's very dishonest of you to deny it, especially when you don't have equal to or greater than evidence to support your case, which no creationist has. You cannot go around and say the world was created in 6 days when there's no evidence for that. I mean, you could say that man, toyed around with the calendar, but even then, we have carbon dating. We have all these fossil records. We have all this evidence. Creationism does not have solid evidence to support that the world was created in 6 days. It just does not have it. I mean, even Scripture says that for God a day is 1,000 years. I mean, even the Scripture itself says that time with God and time with man is not exactly in sync, so to speak. So just because Genesis says on this day, on that day, that's just telling a story. It's a narrative talk to get the people from the past to understand the main idea. God created everything. He was very specific in his creation. He created man and woman. They were tempted, they sinned. Those are the main ideas of the book of Genesis, or the first 3 chapters. If you're going around saying that everything was created in 6 days, then that's just ridiculous. That's just nonsense. It doesn't make any sense at all. And again, it it hurts Christianity. And I actually have a post on that, uh, showing how creationism harms. Um, creation harms Christianity, I should say. And you could look it up on Google. And harms um, Christianity, and I go point by point, making a case why and how creationism harms Christianity as a whole. And again, the Catholic Church supports evolution. The original church that Christ founded supports evolution. So, I mean, why remain in heresy? Why remain in ignorance and not catch up with science? And again, nothing in science says that God does not exist. The theory of evolution does not state that God does not exist. It just explains how life developed. That's all it does. It doesn't say that God does not exist. So those people out there who are creationists should not fear evolution or think that evolution pushes God away. Of course it doesn't. That's nonsense. Some atheists may try to push that idea, but there's no evidence for that. Evolution rather, is just a process. It doesn't answer who started it or what started it. It doesn't answer that. To this day, we do not know. We're still looking at that. So it still leaves the door open for the creator who initiated the process of evolution, a cosmic algorithm, if you will, that allow for the formation of all these different life branching out from the tree of life, so to speak. So I have less than 2 minutes. I decided to use this counter because I tend to talk a lot. So instead of having people listening to a 3-hour broadcast or 4-hour broadcast, I limit it to at least an hour and a half, and whatnot. And then just follow the time as it counts down so that I know when to shut up pretty much and not continue or not. Which that has been the complaint from some people about on the broadcast, and also my book. Some people found that my book was a bit too hard to really follow because I jam packed paragraphs with a lot of details. And again, the book is pretty much me telling why I left atheism, why I found it. It's not a story, but it's just me thinking, me studying, me doing research on what led me to leave atheism behind, to set it aside. Why I found it stupid. That's why I used the title Atheism is Stupid. And I'm not calling atheists stupid. I'm calling the idea atheism stupid because that's the first thing I said as I was vetting atheism and found all these different flaws. I said, atheism is stupid. I can't be in this anymore. Doesn't make any sense. And that's when I made the step to start studying different religions and eventually ended up with a Catholic religion. So I have about 30 seconds left. I want to thank everybody for listening. Um, until the next time, hopefully next time we have um, Catholics participate or anybody else, atheists participate, and so we have a nice discussion going. And learn new things, discuss new things. So thank you for listening. God bless. Mary keep. And you can find me at www.sacerdotus.com. Email me, contact me. I'll try my best to get back at you. Bye now.